Hey guys, RanterInShades here, exercising my First Amendment rights vlog style. Now I know I'm a little bit late to the party on this topic, but that's because I was in California all of last week. And while I was away, I heard the news that Mayhem Fest is canceling. For those that don't know, the reasons include poor ticket sales, as well as some controversial statements made by the co-founder Kevin Lyman, who was also a founder of Warped Tour, claiming, what happened was metal chased girls away, because what happened was metal aged. Metal got gray, bald, and fat. If you want to know more about why Kevin Lyman is a douchebag, go watch the videos Cover Killer Nation made about him. I'll link them in the description, because I'm not going to be talking about Kevin Lyman himself or his statements. This is more about the aftermath and my feelings about Mayhem's cancellation. Now, I'm going to be taking a lot nicer of an approach to this topic than Atticus the Death Metaler did in his video about the subject. One reason I feel ticket sales suck this year is because tickets were really expensive. That's one of the reasons I didn't go this year, is not only because tickets were a lot more expensive, but also because there were just other shows I wanted to go to more this summer, such as the Foo Fighters at Fenway Park, or Whitesnake out on the Hampton Beach, which, word. And just recently, Fat Wrecked for 25 Years, which features NoFX, Strung Out, Lagwagon, and a few others, as well as Breaking Benjamin this weekend as I'm recording this. So adding Mayhem to this bunch, although it would be pretty awesome, would have been overkill spending-wise, especially since I wasn't too wowed by the lineup this year. I'm a fan of Slayer, despite disliking a lot of their audience, King Diamond, Hellier, and Devil Wears Prada. But as a whole, I wasn't as interested in seeing this lineup as I was seeing last year's show. Even last year, the festival as a whole wasn't great, but it had bands I really wanted to see. I remember intentionally arriving late in time to make Body Count's set, and then skipping Cannibal Corpse to get shirts since I'm not a fan of Cannibal Corpse. I caught Trivium's set, skipped Askin Alexandria since I'm not a fan of them either, to go get food, and then saw Korn and Avenged Sevenfold sets. On the whole, I had an awesome time because the bands I did catch put on great sets. Same applies to when I went to Mayhem in 2011 and 2013. I didn't go in 2012 because I was in Costa Rica at that time when they came to Boston, and I was pissed. Because the main stage looked incredible. Slipknot, Slayer, Anthrax, and Motorhead, I mean, come on. But anyway, when I went to Mayhem in 2011 and in 2013, I mainly went for the main stage acts. In 2011, we had Trivium, Megadeth, Godsmack, and Disturbed. And in 2013, we had Amon Amarth, Mastodon, Five Finger Death Punch, and Rob Zombie. All solid main stages in my opinion, and I had a good time at both those shows. Now I'm sure some of you might be thinking the lineups those years were weak compared to the early days, and that I'm an idiot for going despite those lineups. That's subjective first of all. You obviously weren't crazy about the lineups and chose not to go. That's your decision. But I'm a guy that doesn't like letting the bad outweigh the good. That's the main thing to take away here. If I see that the main stage at Mayhem is featuring at least 75% of bands I do consider myself a fan of, why would I turn it down just because of a few bands I don't care for, especially if they aren't even on the main stage? Like I said in my concert brattiness video, you have the option to arrive late if you really don't care to see some certain bands, like I did at Mayhem last year. That's a lot like denouncing an entire genre of music just because of a few artists you don't like, saying that all metalcore sucks just because of Askin Alexandria, Fallen in Reverse, Attila, or whoever else, completely ignoring bands like All That Remains, Shadows Fall, Unearth, Misery Signals, Killswitch Engage, and Parkway Drive, just to name a few. Outright refusing to go to a show like Mayhem Fest just because of a few select bands you have the option to skip just doesn't seem fair, so that's why I would usually go to Mayhem, especially when I'm in need of options for summer concerts. Mayhem was always good at filling my summer concert schedule, and that's something I'll miss about it. Hopefully a new festival can be arranged to take Mayhem's place that can have a similar impact. Now, I'm not going to act like the lineups didn't play a part in the poor ticket sales, because no matter what angle you look at it from, they really did. They might have been okay in my opinion, but that obviously doesn't apply to the rest of the ticket-buying public, especially when not everyone is going to be as open-minded and positive thinking about this as someone like me might be. I'm sure if that were the case, and if tickets were less expensive, more people would be buying tickets. Another thing to keep in mind is the supply and demand factor that I also talked about in my concert brattiness video. Obviously a show like Mayhem needs acts that can draw in a big crowd, so they can't have a show just catering to fans of the underground underground, as it won't get too many people in a given area to buy tickets. And of course, there's also the issue of keeping a reasonable budget. They can't spend too much out of their reach to book certain bands, especially if they're asking for a lot of money. Kevin Lyman even said himself that expenses for the show have gotten really high, so they had to do some condensing. It's really complicated shit, and I'm not a marketing buff, so I more than likely might be talking out my ass right now, but it's this kind of stuff that people who complain about lineups for shows like Mayhem Fest fail to think about. Could Mayhem have stood to have some underground and up-and-coming acts? Yeah. Mayhem could have stood to appeal to all sorts of different demographics. I could name a bunch of bands I would have loved to see perform at Mayhem, but that would take way too much time to do, and that's not the point of this video. That's one thing I know Warped Tour does at each venue, is have some up-and-coming bands that won a Battle of the Bands voting play in their state's venue. This year, Bad Case of Big Mouth played at the New Jersey date. Nice Shot Kid, which is a New York hardcore band I am very fond of, played the New York date, and From States Away, which is a tri-state pop-punk band that I was introduced to very recently, played the Connecticut date. I would love it if a large-scale metal festival did something like that. Me being someone who enjoys discovering new music, especially at shows, I would make a point to catch the very beginning of the festival. That's one thing I hope whatever replaces Mayhem does, along with having a more diverse selection of bands that can still meet whatever their budget is and draw in a big enough crowd. If it means tickets won't be cheap, so be it. But it's still nice to think positively and be hopeful about things like this. That's all I felt like talking about with Mayhem Fest. I'll miss it a good bit. Hopefully the void can be filled by next year. What are your thoughts on Mayhem Fest ending? Leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Take care and have a nice day. I'm Shades, and I'll see you next time.